Hey everybody, this is the review for the Android 12.3-inch navigation system from AvinUSA for the BMW E series. This is broken into two parts. The first part's the shorter term, the second part's the longer term. Check them both out because they may have different content that answers your questions or solves your problem. Also, the installation video will be posted below. That is the difficult part, so if you need help with that, check it out. Let's get started. When you turn it on, you'll get this screen, which it does get old after a while. I wish you could change the colors on the unit, but I haven't been able to find that. So for the icons, they're always this red color, which I wish they were orange, at least to match the interior, but they're kind of close. They're almost an orangish red. Let's start with car info. It does nothing, yes. If your car had the iDrive, it's possible this worked, but then again, you wouldn't cut a hole in the dash. Most likely, you'd just put the one that adapts into the iDrive, so maybe the software is the same for all of them. The dashboard is probably the coolest thing, and you can change the colors to whatever you want. This matches the BMW interior. This works. It's pretty cool. It's a little soft. I wish it was a little more crisp, but then again, let me address the biggest issue I have with this unit, not just all the little bugs. The screen protectors that come with it, which I feel I have to put on, is really heavy anti-glare, quote unquote. It is really heavy matte. And a lot of people love matte for gaming. I absolutely can't stand matte. It makes the screen grainy and takes away from the crisp quality, and I just much prefer gloss. I understand you'll be driving, but I'll put some pictures up, and in the sunlight, I mean, it's so washed out, you can't see the screen for the most part. So it's, yes, I could take it off, I'm aware, but I just rather not scratch up the interface at this point. I've actually inquired with Avin and let them know that they need a gloss screen protector option for a lot of folks because we really want the HD screen, right? We want sharp images. Some people want the matte, and I understand that. The glare is so bad on even on the anti-glare screen that it cuts off half the thing anyhow, and it just looks like, how can I describe it? It doesn't look like a computer with the glare kind of broken up or diffracted, whatever. It looks like someone put massive greasy fingerprints all over the screen, and you can't see through them. So it's really a lose-lose. If you want to try something else that I have tried, I ordered a large gloss screen protector from eBay for about $20 for a 24-inch monitor. So I have two available cuts for this. I've already cut it out, but it's definitely not perfect. These are laser cut on the circle, on the rounded edges. Anyways, tangent there, sorry, but I will take that off after this video. This is really cool. The door functions and all that work. So if I open the door right now, you can see that the door is open there. I like that. And the parking brake works, and the seatbelt sign. So that's it. I wish I had more functionality. I wish it interfaced a little bit more and gave more options, but it's cool to have, and I like this tachometer on the screen. I appreciate that. Next is the navigation. Now you can set this to Google Maps or what it comes with. I set it to Google Maps. Phone. This will take you to the phone screen when your phone's actually connected. Applications. This is cool. This is your Android app drawer. I like it. It's smooth, but there is absolutely no feature to organize in alphabetical order or whatnot. I can't stand that. The way around this would be to do a third-party launcher, and I would say Nova, but Nova just sold to, I think, Branch, so they collect pretty much all your data and sell it to companies. So I think myself, along with many others, are done with Nova, but I think Niagara, something like that, is a very simplistic one. Too simplistic, but Smart Launcher is quite good. That's the one I've recently adapted. So Smart Launcher I might put on here at some point. Also, there are actual car launchers you can get. I have some of those too, but for this unit, since it comes with the stock launcher built in, I'm not going to mess with that. So we'll see how those two work together. I bet you they override that, so this is kind of what I'm just leaving for the moment. The second screen is music. So these two right here, you can toggle to any apps you want. For instance, this one actually is Spotify music, but this HD video, since I don't watch movies or put videos on an SD card in my car, I put this to Z-Link, and if you're wondering why, it's because Z-Link malfunctions, I don't know, 20% of the time, and you'll constantly need to go to the app, pop out, clear them all, and then reload Z-Link. Okay, so that's why I put it there. It's also nice to have when it doesn't auto connect, but I'll talk about that in a second. So music, you click on it, it opens Spotify, and now Z-Link's overriding this. So this is what happens when your phone gets in and it auto connects. That will happen often. If you're in the car and you're touching something else, it will override it. So this opens actual Spotify app, which is cool if you don't feel like connecting Android Auto every time, but I feel a lot of people will. Keep in mind, if you've never used Spotify in a car, I'll say this, is that the songs will often be grayed out like this. So the songs are all grayed out here. That is because even in offline mode, Spotify does this check. I can't stand it. In every car, it's an Android thing, on tablets, etc. If you don't have any Wi-Fi connection at all, for them to at least check, this will happen almost all the time. Sometimes you'll get lucky, but it will catch on. So, another tangent, sorry. Now, for the piece de resistance, purpose that everyone probably purchased this for, the Android Auto. So, let me connect my phone again, and there it goes, connecting. When you get on Android Auto, you'll notice that the screen is the everything, the interface is large enough for you to see. It's quite large, and because of that, it's actually a little pixelated. This screen is supposed to be HD quality, and it is on certain things, but wireless Android Auto will always have this larger interface, and it's a little pixelated. Now, I didn't learn this until I actually plugged in Android Auto on my phone with a cable, and when you plug it in with a cable, which I'll show, it actually zooms out to the full resolution of the screen, which the icons become much smaller, etc. But the definition is very crisp and clear. So if you like that, you can plug it in. And yes, I did toggle on Z-Link. I toggled the HD on, but it doesn't really make much of a difference. Anyhow, here is the HD version, or the, I guess, higher resolution but pushed back. Basically what the wireless one seems to be doing is sort of zooming in, or doing like a 1.5 multiplier, but not correcting the jagged edges around everything. So this is probably the default resolution, the native resolution of the screen, and it looks pretty good. I mean, I've seen better, but it looks pretty good. I would say comparably in person, it probably is equivalent to maybe a 17-inch monitor running 1080p. And with this screen protector off, which I did see before I put it on, it looks way better. When you open this up, you'll have this screen like this, and you'll have all your apps. You can click customize to add apps in through your phone. The settings here can do a couple of things. Mainly I just use start music automatically. That one's a big one. And you can do other things. The browser I've never used, but it opens Google. You can use Google Voice on the other thing. Actually, you can probably connect, if, let's say you don't want to use the music app, you can probably connect Google Assistant to this, so you just touch that if you want, or you can activate, hey Google. File Manager, pretty cool, just basic access like your Android system. Settings here are going to be the settings for the interface here. You'll have your regular Android settings either here on Android, where you click Android there, or you can drag it down up here and click settings. So navigation, you can pick maps or whatever this stock one is. System here, you can choose the camera stuff and the units you use. Here's where I selected the video app. So for HD video, you can do anything. So if I wanted to put not Z-Link there, but if I wanted to put Google Assistant, I could just toggle that there. That's how I did it right there. Fuel units, you can pick liters or gallon. I guess I never changed that. So change that to whatever you'd like. Volume. Now this one's funny because, let's see, I actually have two units. I have that and this, and I realize a lot of people aren't going to have two Android units, but this is my original one, which is now running Android 9 or 10, I believe, and it's hooked up to the top one via a 3.5 jack, because the equalizer on the bottom one is better than the one on top. But because of that, the volume knob here does adjust volume fully, but it is ultimately determined by the media up top. The media here, every time this defaults to about 30, I think, when I turn the car on. The only way to turn that up is to physically go to this media section, turn this up with your finger, or click the steering wheel volume up, which turns both the lower unit and the upper unit up. Could be worse for me. This is a very niche circumstance not a lot of folks are going to have. If you have your regular factory BMW stereo with the volume knob, you're set. If you have something aftermarket like me, you're going to deal with this, but it's not a big deal. So you just get in the car, you turn the steering wheel volume controls up by 10, boom, done. You can control the rest of the volume with your knob here. If you don't even do that, it's actually not that low. It's still fine to use. So really, it's not a thing. For some songs, if they're rendered in lower quality or lower volume and you need to max out your volume and you're wondering, what the hell? Why is my stereo at full volume with the knob all the way up, but I can't hear it? It's probably because this media volume is somewhere down in 20 or 30. Keep that in mind. The sound, this is your equalizer, and it's very basic. Bass, treble, and I don't mess with this. I send it down to my lower one, which has its own equalizer, and also if I really get intricate, I have a JBL MS8 in the trunk. That one is already highly tuned and amazing. Absolutely amazing with my Logic 7 system in here. Best sound system I've ever heard in any car ever. Awesome system, but yes, I don't mess with this. You can, and I'm sure it's not bad. Language, time, system info, etc. There's a factory menu here, and I'll get the code, but you can adjust even more in-depth settings. Now, overall, this unit is extremely snappy, very fast. This is the fastest, smoothest car head unit I have ever touched in my life, hands down, not even comparable. Whatever chip is in here, and I'll put the exact one I got. I got the newest one. Whatever offered the newest Android, I want to say 11's on here. Granted, car Android 11 is so different than, I feel, phone Android 11, right? Either way, Android 11, it's very smooth, so whatever processor and RAM amount came with the Android 11 version is the way to go. It's really good functionality it is the hardware. This is the knob that is for the sort of integrated fake iDrive controller, which looks great. I did not have iDrive in here. It fits great. The functionality is questionable depending what you do. For me, I rarely use it for anything. This only functions for me to turn Spotify songs. If I go to Spotify here, this will allow me to scroll down the songs like this. And it works better on Android Auto. Back will take you back, okay? The back and the knob are pretty much what I use. Now, the problem with this is it's so loose. It came like this, so loose. And when you press this, no matter how soft you press it, like this, half the time it will take it back or forth, and the song you pressed will be another song that actually gets pressed. And it's annoying, but for the most part, if you're careful, you can get it right about 90% of the time. Media takes you to the video player, which I never use. Radio takes you to the stereo, the radio, AM, FM, that I never use. Telephone takes you to the telephone. Actually, it takes you to the Bluetooth screen, not the actual telephone screen. And nav takes you to whatever you set as nav, so for me it's Google Maps. Menu takes you to the main menu. Back works almost for everything, which is the only other button I use. Options takes you to this screen again. Now, if you go to options and you adjust the media volume and you press back, you get to hear. But if you're on Android Auto and you press back, you still get to hear. That's why another reason why I put Android Auto on here, because sometimes it doesn't go back to it, so you need to just have that option available. And if you don't put Android Auto to the HD video setting, the only way to find it is going into settings, going to applications, and finding it Z-Link in here, clicking it there. That is the only other way. I put in a request and talked about the functionality to Avin, and they sent me another one. The other one, unfortunately, I haven't installed it yet, but it's the same thing, right out of the box. Same loose play. So I really hope that they upgrade this controller to probably a bigger stem with a much better fit underneath. If I can get my hands on another one, I may pop this off and see how it's built inside and just try to fix it myself. But this is really just, this one is a fail. Other than that, this thing's pretty great. The other feature I will mention is the SD card slots are there and a mobile data slot for a SIM card. So you can put a SIM card in here and have this thing run its own mobile data, which is cool. I haven't done that. For $10 a month or so, you can probably get a basic data plan. I will talk about an installation of this, which it has its own things. For instance, I don't think the hole should be cut that big. There's actually no purpose to follow the template, etc., etc. So there are some installation things that I can definitely help with it. There's pretty much no information online that I could find. Also, the wiring, if I recall on this one, had almost no instructions or none, and was labeled to the point where luckily I've done this so many times, I can do it blindfolded and figure this stuff out. But for most people, it's going to be difficult to sort this out, especially with almost no help. So I'll make a video for that, and hopefully that entices people. I can take a better video, but it's pretty small footprint, and I'll talk about the installation later, but there's just a tiny gap in this. I don't know if you can see, we're talking a millimeter, but it does bother me, and if you look at the right angles, you can see through it. I'm currently working on a fix for that with the second bracket I received. I'm going to try to drill it up a little bit and lower this down, so I'll update with that. This is another quick little update. I apologize for the darkness, but I needed the screen to show up with the contrast as best possible, so I'm go ahead and focus on that. This is Google's Coolwalk. I got it this month, early February, maybe late January. I do think it's cool. The name suits it. The first thing you'll notice on this unit is the edges are now rounded on the, I guess, different programs you're having open. It can also open all three programs as well, one above here and one below. For people who already had the Avin unit, you already had this expanded screen, which was cool, so you may not think this is a significant improvement. I thought so at first as well, but one key factor here is awesome. When I was connecting wirelessly via Android Auto, this whole image here was zoomed in. That's how Z-Link, I'm assuming, integrated Android Auto into splitting across this entire thing when it didn't natively support it. Now the resolution, without me having to plug in through the wire, that was my workaround before, is full resolution, so it's beautiful. So every time I get in now, Android Auto automatically connects wirelessly, and it looks like this across the whole screen. I have video, luckily, of the before and after, and I'll just post a side by side probably. The rounded edges, I love it. It makes it just a touch modern, and everything just looks much cleaner. I don't need this button here because the Avin unit works right off your steering wheel, and you can plug Google Voice Assistant right into the steering wheel technically and just press the button. It's in the factory settings menu, I'll show you. If on Coolwalk here now on the Avin, see, I'm only going over the Coolwalk because I'm not sure if every unit's the same in every car. I would assume it is now because features that Avin's interface and Z-Link or whatnot were pushing, I think Android Auto is now natively supporting. The only thing that I have come across that's a bug so far on my version of Coolwalk is that the maps don't change from day to night, and the setting is automatic, or even if I put it on light mode for day, it just stays in dark mode. So it could be worse, it could be stuck in light mode. One thing I didn't mention about Spotify that is an absolute game changer that is my favorite thing about Coolwalk is that the drag bar is now there. So if you listen to podcasts or anything, you can drag back and hear what they say without having to rewind it fully, which is ridiculous. This should have been here 5 years ago, but it's here now. So if you haven't got Coolwalk yet, it's coming. Hang tight, you'll get it. It's cool. If you touch on the smaller side panel here, it will swap the units. The only reason I'm not doing that is because every time you swap this, there's pretty much no way to back outside of the map that I know of, and the map showing my location. So I'm not going to put that on YouTube. Anyhow, that's a brief rundown of some of the stuff on Android Auto. As far as the Avin Auto unit itself, a lot of people were wondering, how does it work? Does it work well? Are there caveats? Basically, the unit has its own issues, but every single Android unit I've had in my entire life has had issues. I don't think I ever will get one that doesn't have issues. Is it possible to figure out? Is it on Avin's interface software side? Is it on Z-Link, which don't know who makes that, but some third party, or is it on Android Autos, since that's the primary feature? Couldn't tell you. Everything just kind of a blur when it comes to integration of everything. In retrospect, if I knew all I knew now, and I've used this for many months and I've gone through all this software issues and all this upgrades, would I buy it again? Absolutely. It doesn't matter who you buy it through. I don't know the differences between suppliers, but as far as support goes, I will say that AvinUSA has been on the ball. Are they superb? No, but for support, especially the length of time after this purchase, I think I purchased it a year ago almost, and I didn't even put it in for 6 months. Their support is great. They keep trying to consistently solve issues. Well, solving one issue creates another. It's really good though, and I love how it modernizes the car. I don't think I could go without it now, especially having Android Auto right here in your face as opposed to down here. If you have an E92 or possibly an E90 is the same, you know that this flush screen, no matter how large it is on bottom, you're just constantly facing down. The perspective is not great, and the touching ability is just kind of skewed when your wrist is doing this to... Anyhow, it's significantly better. That alone would just make me buy this. The software on here is pretty good. It's not without hiccups. Android Auto, does it load consistently? Not always, but it has been getting better gradually. Let's try one more thing. So what I'll do here is I will disconnect from Android Auto. So to do that on my phone, I actually have to turn off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, because if you don't turn off both, it overrides it and reconnects by turning on the other. We'll clear this, so nothing's open. I shouldn't even have to open it, but if I do have to, I'll click my little music link there. Here's an example of what happens. There's FSC car kit. The camera's on manual focus, so I have to hold it out here, I'm sorry. FSC car kit's on top, whether you can make that out or not. It should connect automatically, but it doesn't. So this is one of the cases if your Bluetooth isn't already on when you start the car. Sometimes this happens. So see, it says couldn't connect. It says couldn't connect. Clicked it again. Connected for calls. There it goes. Here's an issue where there's an error. Okay. So about 7 seconds there. When the car is already on and you need to connect it, if your Bluetooth connects successfully to FSC Car Kit, it will connect in under 10 seconds. That doesn't always happen, but it happens most of the time. From a cold boot, the majority of the wait time is definitely from the unit just booting up to the main screen. Once that happens, Android Auto connection is very rapid. Sometimes it hovers on this screen a little too long, but eventually it does connect. My best piece of advice here is leave your Bluetooth on indefinitely. So every time you get in the car, it just connects rapidly. Other than that, it's good. I will post the initial video I took several months ago when I had the original interface that showed up here. I have 2 integrations higher now. I don't think AvinUSA provides this naturally to people, but they've given it to me because I've run across a slew of issues, minor things. But this new version, I want to say it's 7, but I'm not exactly sure how they label this, and I was on 5. It looks better, it functions better, and the Android Auto connects most of the time now without issue. And I had this big problem before that when I was touching my phone to make a call without using the system here, it would connect the call, but it would cut off the interface. It'd be black. And I'd say, okay, fine. And then I'd hang up the call, and my car would not reconnect to Android Auto. It would just say connecting. I could reset the unit here. I could close everything. I could turn off my phone, restart my phone, but the only way to solve that issue was to stop the car, turn it off for a minute, and let this whole unit reset. The number one thing I really loathe about this unit is there is no reboot button in the software. You have to turn off the car, or there's a pinhole reset in somewhere behind the unit, which no one in their right mind is ever going to press. That is a fail-safe if the entire unit bricks itself or something, and even then, who knows if it works. Outside of that, everything is minor. As far as the Android Auto connection time, sometimes I get in the car and it senses it within 5 seconds. Other times it can be closer to 30 seconds. It really depends. I would say for the most part, it is quick, without issue.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Let's try this again. Let's start it up and see the Android start time. There's the boot screen, non-animated. Little loading screen, but very general. So about 25 to 30 seconds to boot. There is the noise that says that it's connected to my phone. And there's loading Android Auto. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. I guess that's a safe average, so everything boots and connects in under a minute. The only thing that would interrupt that is reversing. When you get in the car here, you will see this screen typically first. I don't know why this screen pops up first all the time. It's kind of annoying. If you let this hover long enough, sometimes, again, this flashes by. It's very quick. Then it will go to the Android Auto screen here. Some people are having issues. Maybe it's your phone version. I have the newest Samsung on the newest Android with the newest One UI. It's pretty smooth. I don't know if you have iPhone. That's one thing I couldn't tell you. I'm not sure how CarPlay is integrated. I would imagine not as well as Android because this is based off an Android platform. Worst case, you can get in the car and plug it in with the cable, which I was doing sometimes, but it's not ideal, right? You want the wireless. I guess in an extreme workaround, if you already had this and you're invested and you're stuck, you could get an adapter for the wired part of this if that's the only version that works for you, and then have wireless Android Auto work through the adapter and sort of a bridge there. But again, that's not ideal. For people wondering what my initial issue was with Avin, it was the Bluetooth calling issue. It was also the bracket, which I think I mentioned earlier, so I'm already going to have that in this video. The bracket wasn't 100%. I was being a little bit of a perfectionist at this point, though. And they sent me another one. I tried to remedy it with drilling it out. I mean, it marginally changed things. Either way, the bracket is solid. When you mount it in, it's good. The road vibrations and whatnot, you can see a tiny bit of movement when you're driving and this is wiggling, but it's very good. It's near the rear view mirror's sort of stability. The gap that I was referencing earlier in the other videos, I've closed it, marginally with the drilling out the bracket, but it doesn't bother me anymore. No one notices it. It's sort of a thing of the past. It looks great from every angle. You really have to nitpick and stare at it to make it even noticeable. So it's not an issue. It's a non-issue. The SD card and the SIM card reader, SD is a TF, that I showed earlier. The weird thing is I put an SD card in there to do with the MCU update, and it's funny because I thought it got lost in there and I thought the port was broken or something, but it actually is recessed so far back that you have to really get your fingernail in there or a tiny flathead or something. It is probably built that way so people can't notice it or pop out the cards easily. The newer issue that I'm waiting on before I post this video is the center control iDrive controller. It worked flawlessly for the longest time and I adore it, and I can't function without it now. It's pretty tedious. If you're watching this and you have this car, and it's not just any other car with the Avin, and if you have the option to get the Android iDrive controller or anything similar for your vehicle, just pick it up. It is awesome. Yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot of functionality, but just the scrolling on the wheel to go through the songs on Spotify is a lifesaver. It's totally worth the $50 or $60 that it costs. That being said, as soon as I updated to this software version 7 here, it no longer functioned. they had this holiday and they disappeared for about 2 weeks, and when they came back they had forgotten the lengthy email list that we've gone through. So I've had to remind them. They wanted me to warranty out the entire unit, which I said is not necessary. This is almost guaranteed to be a software issue because the controller worked perfectly through all the other software changes I did, but did not function once I did this version 7, and the MCU upgrades and everything else they've tried has not worked. So there is that. I am currently still stuck in that situation, and it is not fun having the iDrive not functioning because I really use that in Spotify. So now I'm scrolling with my finger, and if you come across the safety pause, which if you know what I'm talking about, you understand, it is, oh my goodness, it's whoever develops safety pause, whether it's Android Auto or Spotify, they need to be handled, if you know what I mean. So that's the worst function of anything I've ever seen in any sort of software ever. So little tangent there. Another thing I'll mention is that I used the Eonon, which is my old unit, microphone, because it was already ran through the pillar and everything. It's a lot of tedious little work. However, the call quality wasn't great, and I was having dropout issues. These little microphones, they're cheap, and you can buy them anywhere, Amazon, eBay, whatnot. But you want the microphones for the system because the systems output a specific set of specifications, impedance, and all kinds of things. And you want the microphone that's built for that matches everything that's output. Spend the extra $10, $20 when you order this and get the microphone. Don't use your old ones. Trust me, it will function better. So after swapping to the other one, I didn't actually order it. I had to order it after the fact, but it's significantly better. So the sound quality is good. The call quality is great. Not great, but the call quality is acceptable. It's pretty good, and people, again, it could have been a software issue, but people have told me that it's fine now and it's working, no echo or anything. I already mentioned this, but the Google Voice on the steering wheel is a game changer. I love that one, so let's just go there really quick. The old version, the 5th, or the original interface I showed last time, had a different factory code. When you go down and you see the factory code, I think it was 2846. The new one, that doesn't work on this one, so this one is 1314. And you press enter. Now you can enter this menu. Here on function, you can see a bunch of stuff. For the most part, you're not going to want to mess with a lot of this stuff, especially if you don't know what you're doing. But some people with aftermarket rear view cameras and whatnot, this may fix some of your issues. The big one here is car without OEM monitor. This is checked or unchecked if you have the iDrive and navigation factory or do not. Now this is what you normally check to get your controller working. For some reason, these aren't syncing anymore. And the other option you're going to deal with when messing with this is the CAN protocol. I have tried all 4 of these with both of the, there we go. There's 3 things. The other one's a knob type. Now, I never had to change it from knob A or CAN protocol 1 in the other car. And they may not make any sense, or the other version of software. It all worked, and the OEM monitor check thing worked. This is all for the controller. Now I've tried every single variation there is of this, and it doesn't work anymore. So there's some sort of handshake issue with the controller and whatnot. That's what I'm dealing with now. But this car without OEM monitor under the vehicle tab, that's one you will want to pay attention to if you're having trouble with the controller. The other one is CAN protocol. When you change this, you can select it and it will say okay, but it won't take place until you restart the car. Do you or I or even the people you speak to on support know what these mean? No, they probably won't. But I can say this. The one thing you will want to pay attention to is the new version of the software. If that may be what you get when you order it now, if you haven't ordered it yet. You may be on the old one if you've already got this in your car like I have. This only has 4 options for the E90s. The other version had 15 options, and you could go through them all. They also didn't say old and new CAN. So clearly the old CAN protocols worked with the controller. These ones do not. So again, that's probably another handshake issue. This is what I'm dealing with now. Here you don't really mess with anything. The units you can select in the regular settings menu. The automatic brightness is cool because you can control that with the headlights here. These are all on by default. The amplifier selection doesn't really matter. The Bluetooth, I picked Android. My OEM's disabled anyhow, so it doesn't really make a difference, but that may make a difference to you. For the vehicle, you have The aux auto switching, doesn't matter. Knob type A or B, I did leave it on A, and I think that's where most people should leave it, but you can change it here. Driver's seat, left or right, depends on your region. Number of doors, 2 or 4. This may make a difference inside of the gauge menu, I'm not sure, but I just left it default. The speedometer, 260. The M3s may have 280. Gear selection, irrelevant. Map selection, map key, sorry. I did do the Android navigation instead of the car navigation. This may be applicable if you had the stock iDrive. Here is the voice key selection. Now this is what I wanted to show because it's not here by default. Short press opens voice command, long press opens Navi. We don't need their navigation, at least most of us, unless you hate Google Maps and Waze. Wow. Apparently the hey function's on. But here you have other options. You can do the short press to open navigation, not for me. You can choose the car's voice function, which you shouldn't, it's really old. And the short press does nothing, long press opens the Navi. So really this is the only ideal solution, is the short press. But this little voice button here on the steering wheel, boom, pulls up your voice assistant. Or you could be using Siri or Alexa. CAN bus collection, irrelevant, everything else. So car display, this one again is not relevant because no matter what I change it to, the same split long screen was there. I would just leave this at the very first one and not mess with it if it were me. The CAN protocol is the one you want to function or change. Here's mic gain. If you are having microphone issues, you could possibly mess with this. The reverse exit time, I changed this and try to customize it because when you put the car in reverse, and again this could be because I'm running 2 separate units or the way I have it wired, it has a delay. So there's a delay when you put it back in drive. It's a couple of seconds, but it's just kind of annoying. I didn't like that, but changing this custom time, exit time, it didn't do anything. In fact, so there's reverse. Now I'll pop it back right now. There's the delay. About 4 seconds or so, but that's one little caveat that I'm not a fan of. If I find something to speed that up, I'll post it in a comment or something. Here's the UI configuration. If you want the old interface, I believe it's ID5. You can change it there. ID6 looks slightly different. I didn't like that one, so ID7 is the one I'm using here. This is interface number 6. It is not pretty. Maybe if these were rounded corners, it would look better. But the fact you have this ugly car here that looks like a Jaguar or something. You got the browser. It's also 4 parts, sorry. Settings, more apps, so there are your apps. Phone mirroring, which is old school, I believe. Sort of the OTG cable thing. Dashboard. So the functionality is still the same once you get inside of each thing. But this still looks pretty good. I mean, if you want to change, check out ID6. Maybe even some of you have ID8, ID4, I don't know. Anyhow, I just wanted to show you what it's about. This is the ID7 menu. It just has 6 sections, that's it. And it just looks a little better and it functions a little smoother, I'd say, but it's essentially the same thing. On the left here is what I do appreciate. It has this side panel which does the same thing. Now I have Z-Link, which I explained earlier, done on music, because sometimes you have to go here to this tab that does the multitask. Alright, things aren't working for me right now. And you have to close something, and then when you close it, you'll reopen because Z-Link doesn't function or there's something going on. Same settings as the other one, and it looks the same as the original. And then car, which this is where your factory iDrive would be, which does nothing for me, and then apps. Communication takes you to the Bluetooth and the Bluetooth section where you can add stuff. This does not function. So when I'm playing Spotify and it's in the background, this doesn't show the songs or anything. So the only way this functions is if you put your songs, high-end FLAC or WAV files or something, on the SD card and have it driven directly from the unit. That will show here, but everything else I believe will not. Navigation is always going to take you to navigation that you choose, which I chose Google Maps. HD video and music are the two programmable ones. I already said that earlier, but so HD video I have set for Spotify locally, and music I have set for Z-Link. Car info doesn't do anything. That's just another shortcut to the iDrive if you had this factory iDrive. And then dashboard takes you to this cool dashboard that does interact with other things. That's it for that. If you want the factory Android menu, it's in here. The boot logo's cool. You can change it to any of these, which I really like. The one I have right now is this one. It looks pretty professional and clean. I did have some of these. They are not animated. I don't think any of them are animated. I could be wrong about this one, but I haven't tried them all. But it's nice that you can do that, and you can, I believe, import your own. So you can make your own animation. I don't know the file type, but you can technically put your own animation. It looks very clean. It looks very factory. So I like that. It doesn't pop up and say Android or Avin or anything ridiculous. My E09 did that, and I didn't like it at all. That's it. That is all I can think of. Is AvinUSA the best company you can go with? In the USA, probably. The support I've received, again, isn't impeccable, but they're consistent, and they're trying to solve issues, and they do try, and I appreciate it. The unit itself it has changed my driving experience. Would I recommend it? Yes. If you have the courage to cut a hole in your dash, I would definitely do it. Even if you get another unit, these 12.3, just make sure it has at least a fairly new version of Android, because once they're outdated, unless you have someone from XDA or something make you a custom thing that you can flash on there, custom ROM, you're going to be stuck because you can't even use some of the stuff that's outdated. Again, I'm only referencing using Avin because I did my homework to find out which company is the best too. I normally don't care about companies, and I would have typically just installed whatever and got the cheapest deal I could find on the best unit because, you know, I'm comfortable with that. But for the support, especially if you don't know what you're doing, just take the safest route you can. The minor occurrences that I've hopefully talked about everything I can think of. Again, I'm just kind of doing this on the tangent. It's insignificant compared to the overall functionality gained from this. It's so productive, and I love it. So even with the controller out of function right now, it's been tough. So I really love the iDrive controller, and I really like the unit, especially now the Coolwalk series. It feels like a brand new car. If you're on edge, I hope this helped you out. If it did, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate the support. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. If you want some specific video coming up next, leave those in the comments. If you need help with the installation, check out the other video. I'll post that in the description. And good luck with all your projects and your dash unit. All right, take care.